Kendrick Lamar's 616 in LA is one of those rare hip-hop freeze-frame moments where everything stops moving. Rappers play it twice. Fans run it back 10 more times. Even the critics sit up straight because they know this isn't a regular drop. It's a strategic strike disguised as a track. Kendrick didn't send a diss. He delivered a precision hit. Quiet. Controlled. Absolutely lethal. It starts with that eerie, cinematic hum that feels like someone's about to spill something they were never supposed to say. Then he starts peeling everything open. Coded warnings. Slick mockery. Little pieces of inside info. Suddenly, 616 in LA feels less like retaliation and more like revelation. He isn't shouting. He's exposing. Those opening bars hit with real weight. Ain't no brownie points for coming back to the city. That's a clean shot at Drake's constant craving for validation. Wanting to be Toronto's golden boy while still trying to play Hollywood boss in LA. And that brownie points jab works twice. It's a King Kong wink, clowning Drake for beating his chest online while still hiding behind industry protection. Kendrick is basically saying, flexing means nothing when the foundation underneath you is ready to cave. Right away, he strips down Drake's carefully built image, the mix of ego and fragile bravado that made him feel untouchable for so long. Then Kendrick shifts. He says, ain't no ovations for these fabricated stories, and everything snaps into place. He's talking about Drake's entire public storyline. The albums. The narratives. The long-running victim of the fame act that somehow always works out in his favor behind the scenes. Ovations is intentional. Applause. Theater. Kendrick is telling him the performance is over. Curtain closing. Lights out. Then he drops the real bomb. Somebody working for me inside your army. Hip-hop froze. People stared at their screens. Reddit detectives dug out digital corkboards. OVO is working for me became one of the coldest bars anyone's fired in a rap war. Kendrick didn't just diss Drake. He suggested infiltration. A mole. Someone inside OVO is feeding him info or quietly cheering for TDE. Whether literal or metaphorical doesn't even matter, he planted a seed and let paranoia do the rest. Before Drake can react, Kendrick already makes him look suspicious of everyone in his circle. Every move Drake makes now has a shadow trailing it. Fans immediately started connecting dots. OVO's quiet internal tension. Strange timing. Producers who fell back. Old whispers about leaks during the Not Like Us sessions. Kendrick weaponized gossip without naming a soul. That's the trick. He lets the audience color in the blanks. Headlines handle the rest. Drake's empire instantly looks shaky from within, and Kendrick only needed one line to pull that off. From the first moment, 616 in LA stays calm, calculated, and deadly. His restraint is the real blade. The delivery feels conversational, almost gentle, but every pause drips with venom. Every metaphor hits twice. After the OVO mole grenade, he moves straight to Drake's online persona. The curated perfection. The endless highlight reels. The polished lifestyle showcases designed for millions of eyes. The stories you tell on the gram don't add up, he says. And it doesn't need clever wordplay. The honesty cuts deeper. He follows it with, posting in your marble halls, but the cracks start to show. That's a direct hit at Drake's luxury aesthetic. The estate. The marble. The constant display of wealth. Kendrick is saying the decor sparkles, but the structure underneath is brittle. Cracks mean shaky alliances, hollow achievements, loyalty that evaporates when tested. And that becomes the real theme. Authenticity. Kendrick is calling Drake's empire stunning on the surface but empty underneath. Built on followers instead of a foundation. Then he drops the cash doll reference, and the internet loses it instantly. You should ask doll about your section. It sounds random to people who don't know the backstory, but anyone familiar with their fallout catches it right away. Old disagreements over a song and some behind-the-scenes disrespect. By saying her name, Kendrick flashes proof without showing the actual receipts. It's his reminder that every fallout, every woman Drake clashed with, every deal that went sour is something Kendrick already clocked. He's been watching the entire time. Kendrick's pacing is surgical. He doesn't rush the punches. He spaces them. Each reveal lands like a cold whisper. It feels like someone is calmly dismantling an opponent while explaining every step in real time. So when he says, "Loyalty is just another costume," the irony hits in the chest. Drake's whole brand leans on loyalty, yet fans can list the people he's fallen out with in seconds. The Weeknd. Party Next Door. Future for a moment. The list writes itself. Kendrick doesn't say it. He lets everyone else fill in the blanks. Then comes the twist no one expected. Jack Antonoff, the mastermind behind Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey, and Lorde, helped build the sound for 616 in LA. That alone is poetic. Drake always bragged about being the bridge between rap and pop. But here's Kendrick showing he can cross that bridge cleaner, smarter, and with more impact. He used one of pop's top architects to design one of the coldest diss atmospheres hip-hop has seen in years. And that becomes the final flex. Kendrick doesn't just beat Drake in the beef. He beats him in the very lane Drake swore he owned. He's basically saying, "I can step into your lane and still outcreate you with art you can't touch." Every part of 616 in LA feels crafted with purpose. The pacing. The callbacks. The wordplay that somehow sounds casual even while it slices clean. It stops being a simple attack and turns into a full dissection. Kendrick never raises his voice. He whispers. And somehow that whisper feels like 1,000 quiet threats. The whole track plays out like a chessboard. Each bar is another piece sliding into place. As fans kept decoding line after line, the strategy became obvious. Kendrick's entire approach is twisting Drake's strengths into weaknesses. Drake built a legacy off emotional finesse. Turning heartbreak into power. Turning vulnerability into armor. Kendrick takes that same softness and spins it back on him like a blade. So when Kendrick raps, "You play the victim too much, we stop believing in pain," it hits freezing cold. He's calling out the emotional theatrics that shaped Drake's image for years. He's pointing to the moment sincerity turns into performance, when emotion becomes a product on the shelf. Kendrick isn't mocking Drake for feeling things. He's accusing him of cashing in on empathy. Then comes one of the most replayed lines on the record, "All that trust you built? It's paper thin. I hear whispers when your back is turned." This isn't a diss. It's psychological warfare. He paints Drake as a man surrounded by success but chased by betrayal. It fits perfectly with Drake's public story, the superstar who has everything and still trusts no one. When Kendrick loops in that eerie hook, "Somebody working for me," it doesn't land like a lyric. It lands like a dare. A little taunt designed to crawl into Drake's mind and stay there. That's the real brilliance. He didn't go for the ego. He went straight for the paranoia. Instant chaos erupted online. Theories flew everywhere. Names inside OVOs started trending out of nowhere. Producers, managers, longtime friends, suddenly everyone looked suspicious. Fans dragged up old interviews, stray tweets, weird timing, anything they could piece together. Some were convinced Kendrick had real receipts. Others said it was symbolic, a shot at the shaky loyalty in Drake's circle. But none of it mattered. The damage was already baked in. Overnight, the entire empire looked like a funhouse of mirrors. 1,000 reflections, none of them dependable. Every Drake post felt reactive. Every silence felt like a strategy. Kendrick never needed to prove a mole existed. He only needed Drake to consider it. What makes 616 in LA a hit masterpiece is the way it moves. It doesn't explode like Not Like Us. It doesn't snarl like Euphoria. It sits low and smoldering, like a late-night confession where someone casually reveals truths you never wanted to hear. Kendrick's tone is so controlled it's chilling. Lines like "You're surrounded by yes men, so no one tells you no" don't even sound like insults. They sound like a report card. A clinical breakdown of why the battle was lost before it even started. Even the title carries layers. 616 in LA, fans immediately connected Kendrick's pattern of using timestamps, locations, markers with meaning. 616 lines up with June 16th, Tupac's birthday, giving the entire drop an unspoken spiritual undertone. Releasing the record under that date positions Kendrick as more than a rival. He's placing himself in the lineage of Pac's truth-telling, that raw sense of moral authority that cuts straight through the industry shine. The final line seals everything, the loudest one in the room always hiding something. That isn't just a jab. It's a character teardown. Kendrick is saying the charisma, the humor, the curated presence, all of it functions like a mask. Strip it away and what's left is uncertainty. It stands as one of the coldest closing lines in diss history because it doesn't shout. It simply states the truth. When 616 in LA dropped, the reaction was immediate. Fans and publications treated it like a cultural event. Billboard, Complex, everyone broke down the bars like they were decoding scripture. Artists picked sides again. Conversations about real artistry came roaring back. Some people said Kendrick manipulated the moment. Others called it a masterclass in restraint and precision. But everyone landed on one conclusion. Kendrick earned the respect. He waged a full war without ever raising his voice. And Drake's response, or the absence of one, became its own headline. For someone famous for fast, clever clapbacks, the silence said everything. In the past, Drake would have dropped subliminals in hours. This time? Nothing. Just curated posts, polished captions, brand moments, and photo dumps that looked like he was trying to pretend no fire existed. Fans flooded every comment section with "OVO is working for me." The paranoia Kendrick planted was sprouting in the open. The wildest part is how 616 in LA completely reshaped what a diss track can be. No shock tactics. No screaming. Just steady psychological pressure wrapped inside poetry. Kendrick didn't attack the brand. He attacked the truth underneath it. He flipped Drake's greatest advantage, his emotional bond with fans, into a liability by making those same fans question him. That isn't just clever writing. That's tactical warfare. Analysts and hip-hop historians started lining it up beside Nas's Ether and Jay-Z's Takeover, pointing out how Kendrick caused maximum damage with minimum aggression. Where everyone else swung with direct punches, Kendrick chose infiltration. He mirrored the same mole imagery he rapped about and built the entire track around it. Every bar reinforced that theme of hidden betrayal, creating a cold mirror of Drake's inner circle and the shaky ground beneath his empire. It felt like Kendrick turned Drake's entire team into characters inside a story they didn't even realize they were starring in. Fans also kept highlighting the sonic design. The beat feels intentionally unfinished. Minimal. Eerie. Looping like a thought you can't switch off. And that's exactly the point. The production mirrors the psychological spiral Kendrick wants Drake stuck inside. No heavy drums. No dramatic rise. Just open space. Space for the words to echo. Space for tension to stretch. Space for paranoia to breathe. Every replay hits differently, revealing a new shade or implication, which is exactly how quiet manipulation works: soft, subtle, impossible to shake off. Even weeks later, people are still uncovering fresh interpretations. Some think 616 points to a moment when a mole inside a label was uncovered. Others say the LA part symbolizes Drake being surrounded by Hollywood pretenders instead of genuine allies. Whether any of that is true doesn't matter. The power lies in the uncertainty. The track forces listeners to decode it, and in that process, Drake's world starts folding inward. Kendrick didn't just win a round. He rewrote the entire rulebook. Looking back, 616 in LA stands as one of the most calculated takedowns in modern rap history. Kendrick didn't need a dramatic rollout. No flashy visuals. Not even a direct name call. He weaponized subtlety, turning calm, conversational lines into cultural landmines. The quiet made the record sharp. While other diss tracks roar, this one lingers. It slips into timelines, infiltrates conversations, and stays in people's heads long after the final loop fades away. The real brilliance of 616 in LA is how it exposes the fragility of fame built on image. Drake's empire depends on visibility. Constant content. Constant posting. Constant control of the narrative. Kendrick flipped that entire formula by using invisibility as power. He said less and made it echo louder. In doing so, he reminded everyone why hip-hop still respects restraint. You don't have to shout to dominate. Sometimes the calmest voice leaves the deepest cut. Fans now call 616 in LA the Mole record, not just because of one line, but because of how the song slipped into culture like a rumor that refuses to die. The theories, the think pieces, the reaction videos, none of it slowed down. OVO is working for me grew into a meme, a taunt, a cultural shorthand. Kendrick didn't simply diss Drake. He turned OVO into a symbol of betrayal. That's narrative jiu-jitsu at its peak. Since its release, 616 in LA has taken on a life of its own, shifting from a diss track into a cultural case study. Scholars, critics, and even other artists have dissected it as a blueprint for lyrical minimalism, proof that you can dismantle a public figure without yelling or dropping a single curse. It's psychological chess, every move disguised as light conversation. Kendrick showed that intelligence and patience hit harder than aggression, especially when your opponent's biggest weakness is his pride. And that ties everything together. Pride. 616 in LA isn't only an attack on Drake. It's a warning about what happens when success blinds you to self-awareness. Drake built an empire that needs constant applause. Kendrick built one rooted in depth and silence. And the moment those two philosophies collided, the outcome was already written. Kendrick didn't just win the battle. He rebuilt the battlefield. When the dust finally settles, 616 in LA won't be remembered as another diss track. It'll stand as one of the most intelligent counterattacks hip-hop has seen, a record where the real flex wasn't aggression, but discipline. Where the sharpest hit wasn't a scream, but a whisper. And where Kendrick Lamar didn't just answer Drake, he reinvented the psychology of rap warfare.